Hello, and welcome to the Shot on Snapdragon live chat. We're coming to you from our Snapdragon Insider studio at our headquarters in sunny San Diego. I am your host, Angel Roy. If you've not joined a Shot on Snapdragon live chat before, these are informal sessions where we bring an expert from Snapdragon. They answer all your questions, all while being shot on a Snapdragon-powered device. Today's chat is being shot on two Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultras. And today we have Cisco Cheng,
Hello.
our AI product marketing team leader, and he's going to talk with us today all about generative AI on device.
Cool. Happy to be here.
All right. The questions we have from our insiders were sourced on social media. We're excited to share them with Cisco today. We also got some great images from you for us to play with during some demos later on in our chat. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right. So, Cisco, why would you even want to use AI on a device?
Well, there are several reasons, Angel, and I think the biggest one is first off, when you're running things on device, you are doing it without a connection to the cloud. So no internet connection, you're on airplane mode. And the reason why you want to do that is several things. So cost is one of the biggest things that come to mind. It costs a lot of money to run any type of generative AI query in the cloud right now. We're talking about 10 times the cost of a regular Google search, according to some analyst firms. And if you look at what OpenAI or ChatGPT is charging for using ChatGPT-4, it's about a $20 a month subscription. So you can only imagine that cost will get passed on to you at some point. Running it on device will save you on that cost. And that's one of the primary things. The other one is privacy, security. So obviously some people are very sensitive about the images that they upload to the cloud or to their Google Photos. They're also leery about certain documents being uploaded to the web. So with generative AI running on device, what's generated on your device stays on your device. It's like Vegas.
I love that.
Yep.
Well, what can generative AI do on your device? What are some things it can?
Yep.
for you?
It could do a ton of things and lots of exciting fields out there. Mostly it's around text to text. So you've seen this with ChatGPT. You've seen this with Llama. There's text image, stable diffusion, which is what we showed earlier this year, which is generating images via a text prompt. And then you have text to video. You have things like helping with transcriptions. So this is text to voice, text to speech. Tons of exciting things going on in this field.
Great. And I know you just mentioned stable diffusion, but I think there are some other language models that we use, like ControlNet. Can you speak to that as well?
Yeah, ControlNet is a form of stable diffusion where you have some guardrails or some outlines. So stable diffusion basically takes your prompt and generate images based on that prompt. With ControlNet, you're defining certain things about the image that you submit. So that's an image-to-image model where the AI or the generative AI model, in this case ControlNet, is looking at the contours of the image. It's looking at the depth map. It's looking at other aspects of the image. And then using those guardrails, it generates or enhances your image in the process.
Awesome. How do you get something that large on your device?
So I think Qualcomm has a heritage of developing great hardware. And there are two components to getting this to run on device. The first part is definitely software tools. We have tools that shrink the model. It's called quantization. So quantization is a process of rounding numbers so that these models are small enough to run on your device. And we also have very impressive hardware. So we have something called our Hexagon processor, our AI engine, that is able to run these models on device. And between those two components, there's a lot of work that Qualcomm does to enable this sort of processing on device.
So you're talking a lot of, about the tools that really make AI successful. What is it about Snapdragon that really works with AI?
Yeah. So like I said, it's a combination of hardware and software. It's also our heritage in doing these two things. So our AI engine or Hexagon processor has been around for 10 years now, and 7 of those we've been doing AI for a really long time, coupled with our Qualcomm AI stack. So this is our full stack optimization. These are our developer tools that are able to then use these models, shrink it or quantize it, and be able to run it on the Hexagon processor is what essentially allows some of these generative AI models like ControlNet and Stable Diffusion to run on device.
Great. So you've been talking about a lot of what we've done, our
Yep.
heritage. How is it going to get better? What's next?
Ooh, I don't want to disclose our entire roadmap, but you can imagine all of these different models that are out there today. So we talked about text image. We showed image to image with ControlNet. Obviously the next layer or the next level will be somewhere. I'll talk about parameter size, somewhere north of 10 billion parameters, and that will tell you a lot because there are a lot of models out there that kind of fit that size and fit that size. So those are kind of the things that we're working on.
Great. I think we would love if you could show us a demo
Yeah,
today. Is
love
that
to.
okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Put it on airplane mode.
What this is ControlNet, right?
Yep. So this is ControlNet, and I am putting it on airplane mode
Awesome.
per Jason. And what we're going to do is we're going to take an image from Devin.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we asked some of our Snapdragon insiders on Twitter and Discord to share some images for us to use for this prompt. So yes, our first picture comes from Devin. It is a photo of a modern skyline. So thanks, Devin, for sharing with us on Discord.
Yep. Thanks, Devin. And I'm going to type in the prompt, beautiful oil painting pointillism style.
Pointillism, all right.
So this is, excuse my poor typing skills. And then what I'll do is I'll hit the generate button and put it back on the stand so everyone can see it.
All right. Can you talk a little bit, how does the system know? What are they kind of pulling from in putting that image together?
So it's taking the source image. In this case, it's the image that was submitted by one of our viewers. And then we have to identify a seed. So the seed, I don't know what's the right way to define it, but it's sort of like it's done for consistency. So if you want to repeat the same prompt and get the similar or exactly the same image, you would use the seed, and it defines the randomness of the noise from the image. So that's kind of like the whole process.
What's the most random image you've generated so far on device?
Oh, gosh. I think a lot of artwork. I think images that is taken with my selfie cam, with my rear cam of landscapes, and then I would insert art references, and it would generate fantastic images based on that. And this is the kind of example that we used for this particular exercise.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, let's try one more. We have a flower image submitted by Mike Pepper Tech. So thanks, Mike, for sharing that with us. I'm excited to see yours get transformed in on-device generative AI.
Okay, and then what we will type as an input here is pink flower bouquet in the middle of a green field.
Huh.
And then I'll hit generate. Back on this.
Awesome.
And now this is taking another source image
Okay.
from an insider. And the ControlNet is looking at the contours of the photo, looking at the depth between the flower and the field. And based on that and the seed number, it enhances the photo or generates another photo in the style of the prompt that I just put in.
Can you remind us again a little bit the difference again between ControlNet and
Yep.
Stable Diffusion and how those images would transpire differently?
Sure. So Stable Diffusion is using a text prompt, and then using that text prompt, it generates an image just based on that.
From A to Z, from
From
there
A
was
to
no
Z.
image to
Right,
start with,
right.
it just came out. Okay.
And remember, it's text to image. So you're inputting text, and it generates an image. With ControlNet, you are submitting, you're inputting an image. You're using the image as a starting point. In this case, it's an image that was provided by an insider. And based on that image criteria, like just looking at the outline of the image, again, all the aspects of that image, based on that prompt, I will enhance the image to something better. Yeah. So it's not text to image, but image to image. And because of that, the model is a little bigger. It's 1.5 billion parameter, whereas Stable Diffusion is a little bit less at one-ish. Yeah.
What's parameter mean?
Yeah, great questions. Parameter is is sort of like the weight of the model. Mm-hmm. It's how big the model is, and similar to how you have grams and pounds, the weight of a generative AI model or a large language model is using parameters as sort of its quantifier.
Why is that's something that you would want to pay attention to? Is that kind of based on the storage or?
Well, you definitely want to pay attention to the parameter size of the model, because the bigger the model becomes, the more the user, or at least Qualcomm, has to make sure that we make it small enough. So this is the process of quantization using our tools and using our hardware that's efficient enough and have enough performance to run that model. So those two combinations of software and hardware allows us to run a 1.5 billion parameter model like ControlNet. So as we scale to larger models in the 10 billion range, let's say, then you need those two exact things, which is better software, or software that can do that type of quantization, APIs that allow these models to tap into our hardware goodness. In this case, it's the Hexagon Processor / AI Engine. And the two combined will be able to run this particular model, whether it's ControlNet or something larger in the future, faster, more efficiently, more secure, more privately, et cetera, et cetera.
All right. Yep. Thank you, Cisco. This has been great. I've learned a ton.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you again to our insiders for. Sorry, Jason has a question.
Oh.
Yeah, hi. This is Jason here, back here in the control booth. A couple of different questions for you guys that are coming in from the viewers. First of all, could you run some additional prompts on those two photos instead of just the ones that you already done? Maybe some other versions that we have for those images.
Do we have a specific prompt in mind, or do you just want me to?
I think we're just gonna do it on the fly.
Well, I think we were talking about some of the different different styles of art. Not to turn this into an art history lesson, but
so maybe I'll take the flower bouquet image, and I'll just say red flower bouquet on a bed of ice. And I'll hit generate. I don't know how this will look. This is definitely off script. Oh.
That's okay. Can I see how it came out?
Not exactly a bed of ice, but you kind of have the red aspect of it. Mm-hmm. You see it's still kind of...
Do we want to maybe try Impressionist?
Well, let's take the other photo, and then let's type in beautiful oil painting. So instead of pointillism style, we'll do impressionistic. Impressionistic style. Okay.
Ooh. I'm not sure if it meets the mark, but
I'll watch it generate first, and then I'll show it.
Pretty fun to watch.
Okay, that's not bad.
I love it. I would hang that at my house.
I would too. It's already hanging.
Awesome. Jason, any other questions to share from our viewers?
Yes. Talk about the difference in model size. What about difference in model size between um, like ChatGPT or some of these other types of large language models?
Right. So ChatGPT 4 is estimated at hundreds of billions. We still don't know the exact number. ChatGPT 3 is far less. 75 billion, I believe, was the number. Where we're not at the point where we're running those models on device. Definitely more to come on that aspect. But you can imagine, we're talking about 1.5 billion with ControlNet, and then something like GPT and GPT-4 are hundreds of billions,
Yeah.
right? That's a large feat.
Yes.
Yeah. And then GPT is just one LLM example of model sizes that are reaching that high. You look at Google's Palm 2 models. I mean, they have varying versions, but the highest ones are kind of in that realm. Llama is 7, 13 billion parameters. A lot of these text-to-text large language models, you're not going to find many that aren't more than 10 billion. Yeah.
Wild.
Okay, another question actually came from Devin, who submitted that skyline image.
Mm-hmm.
He was wondering if we could do it as a film noir
Oh.
type of background.
Which one?
The skyline?
The skyline one. I know. We're just winging it a bit here, but that's what going live is all about.
Painting.
In film noir.
Using film. Is this spelled the French way?
I believe it is.
Film. Film is with an E, right?
No.
No,
FILM.
FILM.
Yeah, that's good.
Beautiful painting using film noir. All right.
We'll try it.
I'll take a look if it's passable before I put it on camera.
Ooh.
Okay, it's a little.
It's not perfectly
little
film
dark.
noir, but it's a nice interpretation.
It's not bad.
I like it. Cisco, what would you tell someone, again, new to AI, who is looking for some on-device generative AI? What kind of advice would you give them about what to look out for? What do you
Sure.
think the reasons they should go for that?
I think that if you're new to generative AI, try all the different cloud versions that are out there today. Like GPT, Bard is one from Google. There are dozens of models that are generative AI that are running cloud today. For the on-device versions, Qualcomm is showing them selectively to folks because we haven't officially released the model to the public yet. But if you ever stop by a conference that Qualcomm is in, chances are that we'll be showing off this experience or this AI demo on our show floor somewhere. So that's the best way to experience it on device for now. There are also other tutorials that show a lot of different developers running all these types of models on device, albeit on the CPU or the GPU. We always say that running it on a specialized AI hardware processing platform like Hexagon is going to yield you the best performance, the best power efficiency, and the best experience.
Awesome. What are you most excited about the future of AI and generative AI?
Yeah, it's a huge runway for generative AI. If you look at all the stuff that is being done, let's say by Adobe Photoshop, think of it from the standpoint of if they're starting with Photoshop, think of what they're already working on with video editing. Think of what they're working on with animations. Think about what they're working on with making music for video. So these are all the exciting things that are coming down the pike, and I can't wait to experience them myself.
Awesome.
All right, we have a couple more questions. One of them comes from Piotr or Peter, depending on whether or not you go the Polish pronunciation or not. Are current picture generative models running on any sort of safeguards to keep outputs suitable for any age?
That is a excellent question. Now, Qualcomm, we don't we don't define the models, and then the type of images that it sources, that's the model themselves. So Stable Diffusion is an open source model. ControlNet is an open source model that we use for research purposes. And based on what we do in terms of quantizing and shrinking those models, that's all we do. But in terms of when you type in a prompt and it pulls the appropriate images, those are from the model makers themselves.
One last thing, we've talked a little bit about Stable Diffusion. Do you want to run any prompts on Stable Diffusion while we have the device sitting here running it? Again, that's not something we have necessarily planned, but
Sure. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so I have Stable Diffusion loaded. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do the same prompt that we used for ControlNet, and I'll show you the difference between using an image as a source versus a prompt, a text prompt with no image source.
I'm excited.
I always want to see this before I show it to the viewers.
All right, just a reminder, is pink flower bouquet in the middle of a green field.
It's close.
Ooh. Okay, so this was text to image,
Yep.
right, which is
So-
difference between Stable Diffusion and ControlNet.
Yep. And then I can also tell you if I ran it again with a different seed, it'll probably give me a completely different image.
So do you want to try that?
Settings. So right now it's 0. So if I change this to 14,
Change the seed?
and I'll just show this real quick. So this is seed 14, and then what I'll do is I can't see. All right, this is bad. And then I'll hit generate.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
completely different.
Completely different. Well, not completely, but it's different enough.
That's so interesting. All right. Any more questions from our audience?
all right, this is a good question. We're showing these devices and these models on a reference design.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a commercial device. When do we think consumers would be able to access apps like this that could run on device?
Great question. And as an FYI, we did get our models to run on a Samsung Galaxy S23 commercial phone. I think ultimately it's up to a lot of folks here at Qualcomm. It's also figuring out a way to put it out there on an app store where it's deemed safe in many areas. So that is still TBD. We're working on it. It's coming. It's just we don't have a set timeline just yet.
Great. All right. That's all the time we have for today. Cisco, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, super informative. Thank you all Snapdragon insiders who submitted questions and photos for us to share. Be sure to, like our video, follow us, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.